everybody, and welcome back to the Friday afternoon live stream. My name is Connor. Andrew has stepped out to get a coffee, so we're going to go ahead and jump right on into this because it's going to be interesting. Today we have a Threadripper. We're putting that inside of an X570E gaming from Asus. We have a 200mm fan, which is going to provide a lot of cooling. We're going to fit our Fractal Celsius S36, the 360mm radiator, and a bunch of fans, big power supply, and we're going to do it all in this little case. So we're going to go ahead and get started on that now.
Whoa,
and we may need it.
Whoa. Connor, you got the wrong parts.
I wanted to cut it
no,
up, though.
we're not cutting the case open. So, we actually have some mini ITX parts here that we'll be using. Because you can't fit that radiator in that case. It physically will not fit.
It can.
No. So,
with some modifications.
Tonight we are building the Petite Albert. So it's a small form factor workstation, very small. Used for business analytics, data visualization, business intelligence, and a little bit of gaming. So the priority here was making it as small as possible while still very powerful for the use case. So we have an AMD Ryzen 7 3700X, that's an 8-core 16-thread processors going in here, cooled by a Noctua low-profile cooler. Those will both be installed on this Asus ROG Strix X570i gaming motherboard, very high-end mini ITX motherboard, with 16 gigabytes of Team T-Force VULCAN Z RAM that Connor has over with him. We have a 1 terabyte NVMe drive for
No, it's up there.
for OS applications and file storage. We have a MSI GTX 1650 Super, and this is actually one meant for very small cases, just like we're using tonight.
Yep, a single fan.
Yeah, we have, let's see, a 400 watt HD Plex, a power supply here that we'll be showing you a little later and talking about, and then, of course, the centerpiece, our NFC Skyreach Mini case. So, yeah.
Indeed. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle around some parts here. Also, hopefully Chris switched over to the snow. Yes, he did. Perfect. So this is, as we mentioned last stream, this is probably going to be the last stream of the year for us. Just taking a guess on that one, as it is December 18th as of time of recording.
Yep.
Or streaming.
And there's not many days left.
There's not many days left, and we are closed for the holidays, shockingly.
Well, yeah.
Well,
like
we will be
yeah.
closed for the holidays.
I believe we're closed Christmas Eve and Day, and then New Year's.
Christmas Eve Day and New Year's Day.
Very nice. So, if you need anything, we're not here. On those days.
And this is actually a really big powerhouse, a lot of power in a very tiny package. I mean, if you look at this, this is a full-size, well, this is a mini ITX? ATX? ATX?
Mini ITX.
Mini ITX motherboard. Versus the size of a normal motherboard box, which is over here. I mean, that's like literally,
it's like
a quarter of the size. But it still can fit up to a Ryzen 9 now 5950X.
Technically.
I don't know if your power delivery is actually going to be happy with it, but you could.
Not in our case, probably. But,
yeah, not in ours.
It fits in the socket, and it will boot if you have enough power and cooling.
Yep.
So, and we'll be talking a little bit about cooling this evening, because that's the challenge with a system similar to this.
Yep.
Where is our riser? Is it over there?
It's in a little box. I think it's right down there. And then, did you mention what the use case of this is? I think you did.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's going on a bike.
Oh, I didn't mention that.
Well,
oh.
It's gonna.
It'll be transported.
It will be transported on a bike. Motorbike or pedal bike? Don't care. And so it's a motorbike, and it needs to fit in the side saddle. So that is what obviously led us to this case choice. And our cooler as well, like Andrew mentioned, is a Noctua NHL9A AM4, and it's very, very tiny, and it has a very strange mounting mechanism. It actually mounts from the back instead of from the front, which is
bizarre.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. I'm gonna go ahead and drop in our CPU. There we go.
I'm just installing our graphics card with its riser cable, because as you'll see, you can't plug it directly into the motherboard because then it wouldn't fit in the case. So they include this little riser cable to
And whenever building a computer, it's always good, whether it be Ryzen, where you have pins on the actual CPU, or you have Intel, which has pins on the actual motherboard. Before you put them in, just check them to make sure they're all straight, lined up, in a nice grid pattern. It's pretty obvious to see if one of the things are messed up on it. The reason I say that is because it will lead to a massive headache down the road.
Do you have case screws?
It's in that box right there.
Thank you.
That leads to a very, very large headache when you're trying to troubleshoot, and the motherboard is the issue. Because usually that's the very last thing you want to end up taking out. I believe Andrew can attest to that as well.
Yeah. Let's see. For
The
the...
customer is coming in soon.
Perfect. On Facebook or on YouTube. Perfect.
So, for the graphics card, would you use motherboard or power supply or extras?
I believe it's extras.
Extras?
Wow, those are really big labels.
Yeah, and they're very small screws. I'll give it a try.
I would imagine extras, if anything.
It sounds to me like those might be for brackets and stuff, but we'll find out.
Yep, we will find
Let's see
out.
if they fit.
Darn it, you made me lose my train of thought. Oh yeah, that leads me into a good, perfect point of we are dual streaming on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you guys have any comments, questions, or anything like that, just drop them in whatever chat you're in. Chris is behind the monitors over yonder, and he is typing up responses and things to that effect. So, and also relaying information to us. We have the YouTube chat pulled up over on Andrew's side, so if you run a chat directly with us, YouTube's probably the best way to do that, but again, it'll get relayed through Facebook if you got a question.
Yep.
These are very tiny screws.
What is this?
Are you serious?
What happened?
My account, my business account on
Wah, wah.
I can't sign in to be on YouTube with my business account.
Wah, wah.
Wah, wah.
What?
Chris is having his own problems.
What?
Chris is having his own problems. So Chris is having issues in the background. So if you're hearing someone say "what,"
Just keep
that is
going
what.
here.
So please disregard that.
This is nuts.
What's also cool about this motherboard is I dropped a screw, which is bad. There we go.
It's gone forever.
Is there an RGB element to this? There
Yeah.
has to be. Yeah, this little bit.
Yeah.
So there's actually pins right here. So when you screw this in, it screws into puts the pins through the socket and gives you power. And what's also cool about that is the chipset heatsink is actually right down here, and then there's a riser cable up to here, which then is where you mount your M.2s.
It does say gaming on it. You should have known it had RGB.
Oh yeah. No, I meant on the M.2 thing.
Oh,
Yeah, it does.
yeah. There's RGB everywhere.
I don't need that backplate anyway, ironically.
Whew. I don't think these are right screws for GPU, just by the way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that little mirror thing is a actual RGB element. That's cool. But the M.2 gets mounted above it, so it's kind of an odd place for an M.2, if you will. Little gum stick drives.
There you go. No, it can't go any further in.
What's the dremel being used for?
It's not.
It's not.
That was Connor's idea of
It
a
was
joke.
the joke of trying to fit more hardware inside of the case, and we had to modify it, but...
I just heard a dremel that's like...
No, that was my lesser screwdriver.
Oh.
Oh, okay. I thought you were joking about that.
I just heard a power tool.
It's fine. I
No
will
cases were harmed in the making of this computer.
Indeed.
Hopefully.
At least intentionally, yeah.
The cases won't. Other components might.
I do really like, though, ROG does an amazing job of branding. And, like, all the extras that are on, like, the tiny little things on the motherboard and things.
Mm-hmm.
They do a quite good job of that. Alright, so contrary to what we normally do, I'm going to go ahead and mount the CPU cooler directly onto our motherboard.
Yep.
The reason that we normally wait is because we have to plug in the cables and such, usually in the top corners. But in this case, literally, it's small and they're actually readily accessible, so not too worried about it.
This doesn't seem correct. The GPU is like hovering a 1/4 inch above the
Interesting.
Try to finagle it.
I've never mounted a CPU cooler upside down, so this is going to be a first. I imagine you just basically line it up and then push it down, so
Yeah, I think that's
what we're going to work with here.
I think that's the idea.
I think, yeah, I think that's definitely the idea. So, same amount of thermal paste that you normally would do.
Come on, GPU. Work with me. I think one of these silver parts is bent. I can give that a little push back.
Off our screws. You can tell that Andrew and I are both like trying to solve issues because we're both just very quiet.
Yeah.
Trying to be like, oh wow, this is actually kind of challenging.
Builds like this require a little more focus than normal. Because if you do something in the wrong order, chances are you're going to have to rip everything out and start again.
Well, yeah, those parts. And what's also cool about this motherboard is there is another M.2 on the back here, and I would probably even think there could be another one underneath that heatsink there too.
There certainly could be. Okay, I think that's in. Now we can screw it in.
All right, this is a very strange process for me. I'm trying to line up a.
I heard that.
Yeah, my phone. I don't know why I flipped that over.
Sure. I'm gonna put a second screw in.
I am struggling on this.
Connor's on the struggle bus. I don't know why he had such an easy week.
Yeah, right.
He hasn't done anything all week, so it should be easy.
There we go. I think I got that lined up. No.
I don't know why that came out of my head, but
Oh, so close. There we go.
okay. We now have the graphics card mounted.
And just like any other cooler, you want to screw this down in as best of a kind of go across as possible, just so that you get even mounting pressure all the way across.
Come on. This HDMI port cover is fighting me.
Is
The simplest things.
And you don't actually have
There
to
we go.
crank this down, shockingly. So
So you can see our graphics card is installed now. It sits kind of like that, and then our motherboard will sit down in here. And then you will plug the riser into the motherboard, and that's how you get a graphics card. Okie doke. Put that away.
interesting. The CPU fan is combined with the AIO pump header,
Yeah, makes sense.
which yeah, it
It's an
makes-
ITX port. What do you want?
yeah, no, it makes sense. It's just comical because it's like,
Uh,
oh well, yeah.
Are we reinstalling this fan bracket that we're not using?
No.
Okay. Didn't think so. Just checking.
Nope. I'm just
So
honestly trying to cable manage this.
I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about our power supply.
Yeah.
So this is it's made by HDplex, I believe is the company, and this is something you'll see in a lot of these very tiny systems. It's a Hi-Fi DC ATX power supply is the model or name. So basically it breaks it into two parts. So you have this part which converts AC wall power into DC power that comes out this 6-pin connector. And then that gets sent to a breakout board like this. So this takes that DC power in and does all the voltage conversion that computers need. So 3.3, 5, 12 volts, ground, all that good stuff. And then it distributes that to regular PC connectors like our 24-pin, our GPU 8 pins, and our CPU 8 pin.
Just look at that unit. It's so
It's
like
dense.
It is dense. It looks really cool.
It's very
to be honest.
satisfying. But yeah.
All right.
So yeah.
The only thing that I wanted to look at quickly. Continue on. Sorry.
I don't know what else.
Front panel.
Too much else to have. This model has a max wattage of 400 watts, so you still get a lot of power in these units.
Yeah, there's actually an 800 watt version
Yeah,
on their website.
yeah. And a lot of times you'll
Yeah.
see these being used with instead of the second box, you'll have like a big laptop brick. I think Dell makes like a 300 watt one. There's
That
some
would not
others.
surprise me.
But yeah, it allows you to have more than like 1 to 200 watts in these very small chassis without without issues.
Yep. Okay, and this is actually kind of cool that they include this as an extender for your like front panel connectors and things. Which, one of the other things about this case, it did not come with a power button, so we actually had to buy a separate power button to put in here, and we have to wire that up manually.
Yeah, it'd be fine. Does that have LED too?
Yes, it does.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the drive indicator light and everything is all built into it.
Oh, neat.
So I'm going to grab this. If you could toss me the fan screw or the motherboard. Or, I said fan screws.
Yeah, I was like,
Like, wait a second.
I don't know where you're going to get any fans to install, but I will certainly give you screws. Let me put them back in the bag. That should be enough.
Yeah, that works.
Okey-doke.
What's also interesting about this is it does not come, the Asus motherboard does not have a pre-installed I/O shield, which is really weird for...
I wonder if that's a compatibility thing.
It could be.
There could be some ITX cases that won't allow a full-size one for some reason, or just that... I don't know. I feel like it's a compatibility thing, because most high-end boards, even mid-range boards now, have built-in I/O shields, which is more of a creature comfort than anything, but, you know. Nothing's better than finishing a build and then looking down, and your I/O shield is in the bag.
The I/O shield, yep.
I've done that on one of my own builds before, and that system never received a I/O shield.
How does this graphics card come out?
Alright, there's two screws at the back.
Yeah, I guess I could just do those. I just need to
You
move
have
it
to take it out?
a little bit. Yeah, I just need to shift it. Just so I can... Because I don't want to get this caught underneath the motherboard, because I don't want to bend it too far.
You could
Actually,
just,
I think I
hold,
can just hold it up.
Yeah. You're not going to want that graphics card out. It's kind of a bear.
That's fair. This is a very dense system.
Yeah.
That is going to be a word that we will use a lot.
It'll be surprisingly heavy when it's finished for its size. I don't know the liters. Usually small ITX cases like this are measured in liters as far as their volume to represent how big they are. Chris is on the job finding out how many liters. I'm going to guess...
I'm guessing
5.
Oh!
Pretty sure that's the smallest case that we can buy.
I'm sure they're smaller.
There's one or two smaller, but it's very close.
And this board does also have Wi-Fi built in, which is also really impressive.
Maybe. There's definitely smaller on the market, but they're probably pretty niche.
Yeah.
And at some point, you are giving up entire features. Like this one, you can install a dual slot graphics card.
A Dan A4 is 7.2.
Yeah. This is about as small as you can get without giving up features, like a dual slot graphics card.
Mind you, I wouldn't even consider this fully a computer case.
Why not? I'm curious.
Because you cannot fit a power supply fully inside of it. And that's my only gripe with it, is like you have to have an external brick that's the bulk of your power supply.
That's fair, but I can use the same logic to say the laptop is not a computer.
Yeah, but at least it has a battery built in that it can run off of it. Yeah. Yes, I fully understand. I'm saying that's why I don't consider this fully a computer case.
A little bit of modding could fix that.
A little bit of modding could.
If you're using something like an Intel CPU or a Ryzen CPU that has a built-in graphics processor, then you could ditch the graphics card if you don't need it for anything. In this case, we do, but if you didn't need one, then you could install the whole power supply inside. But again, that's just giving up features. So here at Top Flight, we don't compromise. How's that riser?
Tight.
Tight bend? Yeah.
Very tight bend.
I remember a YouTube video of someone using this case. When they're plugging in the riser, they feel like they're going to break it.
Yes.
Because the bend is very tight. But good news is it's a very well-made riser cable that is meant exactly for that bend. So they've accounted for that.
Ugh.
Doesn't
That's a hard bend to make.
It doesn't mean it won't make Connor nervous doing it.
No, I was so tempted to be like, we gotta move this or something.
But it should work.
No, it did work. It clipped in where it was supposed to.
I guess I can.
But my gosh.
Is it worth plugging in these power cables before we?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
All right, so I'll plug in.
So Andrew has the hard challenge of plugging in the 4 power cables that we have.
3 plus the actual power one.
Are we going to not do the power cable for the video card because it doesn't really need it?
No, it's there. Might as well have it.
Yeah, I would give it a 6.
I would throw it.
Okay.
There's no reason not to.
Yeah.
So the PCI Express slot can provide up to 75 watts of power. Also worth noting that's usually shared between all the PCI Express slots in use. That's what it receives from the 24-pin motherboard connector. So some very low power GPUs can get away without a connector. This is what Chris was referring to. But if you're able to plug it in, it's generally a good idea. One, you'll have more power for more boosting and such. And two, you'll make sure you don't, in this case it wouldn't be an issue, but if you have a very low quality motherboard, you could cause some unneeded stress on the board and maybe fry some traces, something like that. You know, it's just, yeah.
You don't want to.
You don't want to.
Truthfully.
Frying motherboards, no.
Like, odds are the majority of the people won't ever run into that issue.
Yeah.
But, you know,
if
I'd
you
rather be
can
safe
plug
than
it
sorry.
in, do it. Generally. And like I said, this HD Plex power supply we're using is 400 watts, so we still have plenty of headroom to plug in the GPU. Our CPU is 65 watt TDP rated from AMD, so I don't even expect it. We'll probably be using about half of our wattage available.
Yeah. And then what I'm doing is, since this cable is so long, I'm basically, our motherboard is floated off of the back panel for a decent space. So I'm actually using that space to then, actually I realized I could have just turned it that way. That actually makes a lot more sense.
I might have to.
But
So
I
this-
am using it to cable manage underneath.
I see. The E pin is the same on each end, except one end is 4+4 and one is not.
Ooh.
So definitely
Have fun with
plug
that
in
one.
the right way, unlike I did. Not that it would affect anything other than connectors to the board. There we go. Bippity boppity.
Yep, and this is an 8. Alright, I'm ready for the power supply. So this is what our system looks like so far.
There you go.
The only thing left is power supply.
Which I've now passed Connor into the middle. And then this, like I mentioned, is a separate part that plugs this kind of silvery cable into that distribution board.
Yep, and this power supply will be actually mounted here. We have permanent adhesive tape coming. We just didn't have that on hand, so again, that'll be at a later date.
My suspicion is that this outputs 12 volt only, and then that board breaks it out into the other voltages.
That would make... actually, you sent me the power breakdown diagram. I just didn't look at it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this converts the 120 volt AC to 12 volt DC, which then gets broken out, which is actually very similar to how Intel's new 12VO
That's
what's
right.
it called? Specification works. So mini ITX ahead of the game. Although in that case, the motherboard itself would be responsible for transforming
and the
additional
step downs
voltages
and
as
like
needed.
that.
I think the industry is trying to get rid of 3.3 and 5 volts as much as they can, and just do 12.
It's kind of a weird.
It's
I know
some
it's
things like
needed, but-
SSDs and hard drives take 5 volts. I don't remember exactly what I don't remember what 3.3 is for. But yeah. Anyway.
So the cable management, unfortunately, we're not going to be fully doing right now because, again, we don't know what power supply is going to be fully mounted, and I don't want to start locking cables down and things. Yeah. We got to move them.
Plus, there's only so much management you can do when you don't have a back of a case.
Yes, this is also very true.
They're just sort of, and the cables aren't extraordinarily long, so that you can route them additional ways. So you just gotta sort of run them where they go and do it best you can.
Yeah. So
Sure we have.
But you guys will kind of see a general lookout of how this is going to look, and then once we get all of our tape and everything kind of finalized. Also, one of the other things, I don't know if Andrew mentioned, the power connector, we just need an extension. You mentioned that? Yeah. So that'll extend out as well.
We're waiting on the extension cable from this brick that will reach into the case and then plug into the PC. So that's why we're not closing it up right now. We just have to get that extension in and install it. And then we'll be good.
Trying to get over this and then do the little bit of cable management that I can. Which is not a lot, but hey.
Yeah.
It'll be something, at least.
Yeah, there's also not, this case is actually so small there's no case fans other than what the components each individually have, so.
This is also true.
It's not like you can really cable manage to get better airflow, because there's
There is
no
none.
case
It's all
fans.
open air,
Yeah.
as you probably noticed.
Yeah,
It's all
I don't know
open air.
how close I showed this, but the side panel is all. It's been blessed by a priest actually because it's holy.
That's a good one.
You
It's been a long week when you actually laugh at those kinds of jokes.
Yeah. But this is what looks like to me like CNC milled aluminum.
I would imagine, yeah.
It's definitely aluminum. I'm guessing it's like a CNC that cuts out all the whole lasers or cuts all the whole. Probably not lasers.
CNC.
You can't laser aluminum
You
really.
can
as far as I
technically
know.
plasma, but I don't even know if you could plasma aluminum.
No, this is pretty thick aluminum. And that would be an expensive cutter. Anyway,
CNC.
yeah, CNC. But it's pretty much open.
And that's about what we're gonna be at. We're probably gonna shift the power supply over a little bit, just so that we can then kind of get these there. We'll probably drop a zip tie there, tie these up, and actually the cable management on this looks surprisingly decent.
Yeah,
like
it's not bad. It's sort of the case design has sort of channels built in for all the cables. So.
And then, like we said, power cable is gonna go out here. Then Andrew, if you could just toss me the top piece, I just want to show you kind of what it will look like.
Cool.
So then this piece will slot on through there.
Screwed on.
Once we screwed on, and that will be the full
dense boy
system.
Nice.
Which looks great. And now we're going to do a test boot.
Oh, yeah, we are.
Which we're just going to forego the extender, and we're just going to plug it directly into our power supply.
Actually, I'm going to let you plug that side in first.
Yeah, definitely would. Actually, I guess I'll do it over here.
Okay.
Just plop it on
there. And an additional part of this power supply is there's no switch on the back of the power supply. So if you want it to be off, you have to unplug it completely.
Once it's plugged in, it's in.
Yeah.
Alright. There we go. And then...
And you saw that in the one further away from the rest, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
Yep. Alright. Power is in.
Oh.
And it looks like it was we have the RGB lights on.
I hear a fan. Oh, that's the power supply.
That's the power supply fan. Okay. All right, and button is clicked. Single fan that we have is spinning.
There's one that graphics card too. You can't see it.
There is the post. I was looking where the things were.
There's actually 3 fans inside the computer already: CPU fan, graphics card, and the chipset has a tiny little fan on it because AMD X570 chipsets require active cooling. So it looks like it's doing some memory training right now.
It's bouncing back and forth.
It's gotta learn what it has installed.
And that's a boot.
Woohoo! First try.
What is also really cool about this board, and we don't have a hard drive, so I can actually show this. Actually,
I'd be careful.
Really show this.
Yeah.
The back audio ports are actually lit up with LEDs inside of it to show what color that they are. So it's blue, green, and red. And when you turn the system off, they're completely black.
When you
it's cool.
When you go high-end Asus RG boards, you just get little things like that.
It's
like,
super
wow.
cool, but like,
don't know how useful in daily use.
Yeah. Here, I can rotate it this way. I forgot. Yeah. So you guys can kind of see it right. Set this down right here. And I know it's going to be really hard for you guys to see, but
you'll have to trust them.
Yep, red, green, blue. Looks just kind of cool. It's a fun little feature.
I love the RGB shining through
shining through the side.
Yeah.
And with that, we are done.
Yeah.
This was a kind of a simple build, but again, we have a lot of research was done into it beforehand, and we were able to kind of foresee any of the issues that we were going to have. Luckily, Chris picked the correct parts, which is awesome.
And
makes it a little bit easier.
A little bit of finishing touches as far as mounting and
finishing touches, some mounting, as well as troubleshooting. Well, hopefully not troubleshooting.
No.
Testing, I should say. Excuse me. And
software
making sure that we
testing.
can, the software, and making sure that everything's going to actually handle the load that we're trying to put on it.
Yep.
But other than that, this has been 2020, which has been one very interesting year.
It's been a year.
It absolutely has, and I think everyone can attest to that. It's been a year. And with that, we hope to see you guys next year for 2021 with some awesome builds coming up. If you want to see the finalized pictures of this, they'll probably be up in about a week or so, maybe week and a half, depending on shipping times on some parts and things, the tapes, or when we can get them.
Yep.
But you can check that out on our Facebook page or on our website, which is topflightpc.com, under the 2020 builds. And this has been the little Albert.
The Petite Albert.
The Petite Albert.
Is that supposed to be petite?
Yes.
Oh, you're missing an E on the end. The Petite Albert.
The Petite. And with that, on that bombshell, we will see you all next year. Goodbye.